So this is an interview with Pierre Cyr, the NDP candidate for Tobique-Mactaquac. This is not the first time you're running in an election, but it is the first time that you're running in a federal election. Why are you running in this election?
Well, after the economic collapse in the last few years and the agricultural failures of last year, which brought about all the Middle Eastern tumult that we've seen recently, we realized the economy and the system we have isn't adaptable or flexible enough, in my opinion, to deal with these issues in long term and prevent large-scale suffering. So I think we need to change things. If we can do it one country at a time, if Canada can lead the way in that change, well then hopefully, the rest of the Western world will follow.
A lot of people may be wondering why they should vote for you. Why should the people of Tobique-Mactaquac give you their vote? They
shouldn't just only vote for me. They need to vote for the entire team. A lot of people have criticized the party. Oh, it's just Jack Layton, or they've said the same things for the Conservatives. Oh, it's just Stephen Harper. No, people vote for the parties, they vote for the platforms, and I hope I can be a good representative, and people can understand in me that I do represent the platform and I believe in it, and they can get all their information from ndp.ca online and from our videos and our own website. And some of the ideas I bring are slightly different, like making sure that the gun registry is completely free. That's not completely written down in the platform, but it's hinted at. But I make it plain that I would also fight for a free gun registry for hunters.
Your bio reads very well. You're a healthcare professional. But I understand you come from a long line of healthcare professionals and of politicians as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, on my mother's side especially, but also on my father's side, many doctors, many nurses, dentists, you name it. We have a very deep long-running tradition of working in healthcare. There's also a little bit of politics. My dad's twin brother was Leonid Cyr, was MLA from Moncton, Speaker of the House under Louis G. Robichaud. And my dad was a lifelong friend of Romeo Leblanc, who was a MP, Liberal MP to Ottawa for years, and of course Governor General of Canada. I can't run on those coattails, obviously, because I'm an NDPer. And there's I've been saying this to many people: why aren't you a Liberal if you come from a Liberal family? Well, it's because, like many Liberals, red Liberals and red Tories, we left those parties because we became disillusioned with them at some point. And we joined the NDP because we wanted a more moderate approach to running the country.
Now, Pierre, also you've had a lot of interaction with the union. I know that you were a past president for QP Local 3013. Could you tell me a little bit about that as well? What were you doing, and what kind of experience did you get out of that?
I was a 3-term president for Local 3013. I'm a shop steward as well. I've worked in the union for years because it was a significant part of my workplace, but also it was important. We had real issues in our workplace that needed attention from our unions, and so I got involved, and that's pretty much the political side of things, because we're never shied away from politics at the kitchen table in my family's house. So we've always had a tendency to reach out for those things, whether it's in the union or in a political party like the NDP. And it's pretty much part of it's in the blood, I would say. It's in the genes.
Now you ran provincially as well a couple of times.
Yeah.
Was that just getting your feet wet, getting ready to?
Pretty much. I've been in the NDP over 10 years, and I got involved provincially initially. It was very modest campaigns, of course. My Grand Falls riding is very staunch Liberal riding, so I was running as third party, as I am now. But it was basically a preparation for doing other things later on, getting a little bit more experience.
And how does going back to your union work, how did that help, or what elements of that work help you that you think helps you to be a good candidate of choice?
In the sense that
well, you've dealt with people, you've dealt with the union, you've dealt with rules, regulations, and really helping people is what it is in the union. How does that prepare you to eventually become a member?
One has to be elected to be in the executive of a union. One participates in a very democratic process in the union. That's very much like how government runs. Whether you go to the annuals, you go to the local riding meetings, you go to the regional meetings, and there's always a democratic process at work. So yeah, it's a good way to get your feet wet as well, besides running in local elections, whether municipal or provincial, before going into the federal arena.
What do you think you bring to the table that will help adequately represent the people of Tobique-Mactaquac?
An activist government. I think the NDP prides itself not being just a conscience of parliament. It prides itself in being an activist party. Certainly there are issues in the riding that need to be addressed and forcefully, and they haven't been in the past. Population loss, economic weaknesses of all kinds, mills leaving, kids leaving because of lost no job opportunities, and those are that. There's no evidence that unless things change that this will just keep on happening.
Now, there are many issues in the riding: an aging population, like you mentioned, young people leaving the area, lack of economic growth, just to name a few. What do you think is the most pressing problem that needs to be addressed in the Tobique-Mactaquac, and how do you think you would fix it?
Well, it's the national problem of a shrinking middle class and dropping incomes, and people are struggling to make ends meet. We see symptoms of that in demographics. People having smaller and smaller families. The average family size in Canada is 1.5 children per couple, and I don't think that's by choice. I think that's by force. Economic strains on the average family is forcing people to make strict choices as to how many kids they want to raise or can raise properly, and that's basically that general economic malaise, I think, is a long-running problem that we've had for 25, 30 years, possibly more. That I think is the big issue in our riding as well.
So how would you fix that?
Well, our riding is a lumber riding. It's an agriculture riding. It's beginning to become a mining riding. But the value add to those industries is being lost because our borders are wide open. And we're an export-driven economy in Canada. 40% of our economy is export-driven. But at the same time, we seem to be sacrificing much of the modern manufacturing service aspects of our economy is being exported in the name of keeping access to large economies that in the hope that we can export to them, right? Export our resources. But we're exporting less and less value add and more raw resources, which offers very little employment actually at the end. So I think we're going to have to learn to balance the need to maintain a modern economy with the value add industries that produce good paying jobs, with the desire to maintain the export-driven side of our economy healthy and alive. I don't think it's a problem because we have resources and agriculture that will always have a global market for it. And just because we may force value added to those industries doesn't mean that we're going to lose export markets, in my opinion.
Now, looking at it more nationally, what do you think is Canada's most pressing problem, and what would you do to address it?
Well, unemployment is a big issue. Definitely the Conservatives have been celebrating the creation of 500,000 jobs since the end of the recession, supposedly about 2 years ago or a year ago. But what they're not saying is that those jobs typically pay half what they paid before. So they're replacing other jobs that paid almost twice as much as they did before the recession, which means that it's a continuing degradation of the Canadian middle class. We need to create good paying jobs in this country, not just jobs. I mean, if we just create minimum wage jobs and we just celebrate the number of those minimum wage jobs, how is that an evaluation of the quality of life of the average Canadian? You know, it's not.